The turbulence of last week culminated in the resignation of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. But many are still wondering what we just witnessed. Was this the takeover of Egypt by the Islamists? Was this a true revolution for the sake of democracy? We'll discuss it today on Politics and Religion.
Look, there are two things I don't discuss: politics and religion.
In my house, we don't talk about politics and we don't talk about religion.
I'll talk to you about anything except politics and religion.
I never talk about politics and religion.
Politics determines how we'll live here on earth. Religion determines how we'll live forever. I'm Irvin Baxter. I think it's time we talk about it. Wow, what a week we experienced last week. Now, question for you. Do you know what happened? We know the demonstrations in Egypt lasting about 18 days culminated in the downfall of President Hosni Mubarak. But what does that mean? What does that mean to the Egyptians? What does it mean to the world? What does it mean to you and me? Do we know what happened after all of this hoopla, after all the discussion, news coverage, back and forth? Do we understand what really happened here? Now let's see if we can outline some things, and I do want to hear from you on the program today. I want to hear your ideas. The number to call, 877-END-TIME. If you'd like to be on the air with us, that's 877-363-8463. But let's think about this. Hosni Mubarak took over Egypt with the assassination of Anwar Sadat. Immediately, Egypt was put under a state of emergency, and that state of emergency has never been lifted. This has constricted the freedoms of the Egyptian people. Mr. Mubarak, some people say, had as high as 1 million Secret Service out there with their eyes and their ears open. Now, how do we know that? How do we believe that? We don't know. We're just going by the reports that we have been given. Mr. Mubarak was the first Arab government to make peace with the Middle East, or with Israel in the Middle East. So that was a very important thing. Jordan became the next state to make peace with Israel. So we had two Arabic governments making peace with Israel. All the rest steadfastly refused. For a while, this put Egypt out of the Arab League. But after a while, things cooled down, and Mubarak mended fences with his Arab brothers, and so they finally welcomed him back into the fold. But still, many of the hardline Islamists never forgave him for making peace with, quote, the Zionist entity, as they like to refer to the nation of Israel. In the meantime, Mubarak was a steadfast ally with the United States of America. We funded Mubarak to the tune of $1.3 billion a year in foreign aid for many, many years. And yet, when it looked like he was on the ropes, it appeared anyway that our president, Barack Obama, was quick to pull the rug out from under him, and come crashing down he did. Okay, now, so what does it all mean? Do you have an idea? Who was behind this? Was it maybe just, as it was said, the people were yearning for freedom and they wanted to throw off the yoke of the tight government of Hosni Mubarak? Or was this the time for the Islamists to raise up and take control? We know that a large percentage of Islam is now Muslim. We also know that the opposition party called the Muslim Brotherhood is the strongest opposition party in the nation of Egypt. So was this really a move by the Muslim Brotherhood to overthrow Mubarak? We know the Muslim Brotherhood was the parent organization of Hamas, who is the bitter enemy of Israel. And we also know that the Muslim Brotherhood says if they take power in Egypt, that they will negate the peace agreement between Israel and the land of Egypt. So how do we put all this together? And what do you think? What really happened here? Will this result in another Iran? I mean, many people really believed that what we're watching here is another Iranian revolution. Now, let's go back and remember now. You remember Jimmy Carter was our president in 1979. We had a friend in Iran, one of the most pro-Western governments in the Middle East, the Shah of Iran. And yet there were demonstrations against him, and they toppled his government and brought to power the Ayatollah Khomeini. We supported that transition of power. We thought it was a freedom movement. And we thought that the Islamists were just a small minority that could never really take power in Iran. We thought it was a populist movement, a freedom movement. However, it wasn't long until the Ayatollahs consolidated their power, and we have what we have today. We have the center of Middle East Islam exerting its influence in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Hamas, and now possibly in Egypt. So is President Obama doing right now what Jimmy Carter did back in 1979? Now, this wasn't the only thing Carter did. You may remember that in Africa, that Rhodesia was the most prosperous nation in all of Africa. However, they had a white minority government. The United Nations had said that they had to have a black government because it wasn't right for a white minority to rule over the majority black populace. Well, the tensions kept building. However, the United States of America would never honor the sanctions against Rhodesia. And as long as we would not honor the sanctions, we continued to trade, then Rhodesia could survive fine. However, within 2 or 3 months of the election of Jimmy Carter, he announced that the U.S. would honor the sanctions against Rhodesia. Well, that was the handwriting on the wall. So now then, the head of Rhodesia, I believe his name was Ian Smith, realizing that he could not survive without U.S. support, moved to negotiate a moderate black leader into his position. However, the UN said, no, that's not who we want. We want a communist leader in that position. Now, they didn't say those words, but they pushed Mr. Mugabe, and that's who we ended up getting. Even though they had this moderate black that was offered to them that Ian Smith thought could keep the country prosperous. So Mugabe came into power. He changed the name from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe. He then moved to confiscate the land belonging to the white landowners and turn it over to blacks who did not know how to farm the land. So in the years since 1979, Rhodesia has gone from the wealthiest nation in Africa to the most poverty-stricken nation in Africa. Now, thank you very much, Mr. Jimmy Carter. He was the one directly responsible for that action. But he was serving the cause of socialism, and he was serving the cause of one world government under the leadership of the United Nations. Don't worry about the terrible cost in human suffering that was brought about. Nevertheless, that's what happened. Well, now then we have another president who's very similar to Jimmy Carter, strongly socialistic, and very much for, it seems like, standing up for our enemies and turning against our friends. That's the way it's looking right now from where we are. And if history proves to be contrary, then I will be the first one to say so. I'm just simply saying this looks like where we are right now. So the question then becomes, all right, what's going on? What's the big idea? And since Egypt has been very pro-America and pro-Israel, why are we undermining our base? And does it have anything to do with Barack Obama changing course concerning our friendship with Israel? Is he really Israel's enemy? Now, I don't know the answer to this question. I'm not making an accusation because I truly do not know. However, he's the first one to say no building in the settlements, no building in East Jerusalem. Every inch has to go back. That's what he has said. And Hillary Clinton, as his Secretary of State, has sided with him. We also know that Barack Obama has strong Muslim background. His dad was a Muslim. He attended Muslim school in Indonesia. So we know he has this strong background. Is this having an impact on the way he governs? Does he, in fact, have strong Muslim leanings? We know that his first major overseas speech and visit was to a Muslim country. We know he went to Cairo, and there he made strong appeal to the Muslim faction. He wanted to repair relations with the Muslim. During that speech, he talked about the Muslim call to prayer. He says, the most beautiful sound on earth. Well, now, I heard that and I said, now, wait a minute. I'm a Christian. Barack Obama claims to be a Christian. Would a true Christian say the Muslim call to prayer is the most beautiful sound on earth? That really stopped me in my tracks. It made me wonder. Now, you know that there are a lot of people out there saying they just don't believe that Barack Obama is a Christian. I don't believe he's a biblical Christian. Now, he says that he is a Christian. However, I don't think he qualifies to be a Christian or a Muslim because he is an avid promoter of homosexuality. I mean, he spoke last year at the Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, Transgender Conference and brought the crowd to its feet. He said these words. He said, the time will come when relations between two men or two women will be just as real and just as admirable. Imagine that. A Christian? Now, the Christian Bible says that homosexuality is an abomination. And here you have a man who claims to follow the Christian Bible saying it should be admired. You know, abomination and admired are two extremely different words. I got to talk to you for a little bit here today. We are becoming so intimidated by political correctness that even people who claim to believe the Bible now are trying to find a way to endorse homosexuality. I am just absolutely stunned by the spinelessness and the backbonelessness of many people who claim to be leaders today. Everybody's got their finger in the wind trying to figure which way the wind is blowing so that they can align themselves with it. Where is leadership? That's a really important question. Well, we're taking your calls today, 877 End Time. Let's talk about it.
Every Monday at 9 p.m. Central on the Church Channel and at 10 p.m. Central on Daystar, Irvin Baxter presents End of the Age. End of the Age is a 30-minute program which gives intricate details about how Bible prophecy is not only true, but also how it lines up so perfectly with events going on in the world right now. Don't miss one End of the Age program every Monday at 9 p.m. Central on the Church Channel and at 10 p.m. Central on Daystar. Visit endtime.com for more details or call 1-800-ENDTIME.
Jonathan McKee, president of the Source for Youth Ministry, will be joining us on End Time Youth Corps Radio Tuesday, February 15th. Jonathan is the author of numerous youth ministry books, including Connect, Real Relationships in a World of Isolation, and the award-winning book, Do You Run When They See You Coming? He speaks and trains at camps, conferences, and events across North America and provides free resources for youth workers internationally on his website, thesource4ym.com. Jonathan will be joining us